Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez. I'm here with Sauce and we're here to talk about Week 2 semi-final AFL football. Now, if you haven't tuned in, we did a full review on our show earlier in the week, so make sure you go check that out, Behind the Boundary podcast. But tonight, it's all about what's upcoming this final series, Sauce.
Hey Pez, very exciting. It's good to be able to get to Thursday night. The teams are out. You're starting to build towards that vibe before week 2, and you make or break. Losers go home and they end up in our hashtag. Bring your own hashtag, Pez, with season's over next week. And it's back to the drawing board for some, and some really, really big games this week, Pez, with clubs' reputations on the line. Geelong lose, they go out in straight sets. Again, that sort of buying a premiership is up in the air. You look at Brisbane, if they go a third time out, a second time in straight sets, it could be really, real. Are they in the right direction? If you look at some of the other teams there, GWS, whilst they have made a final, the huge impact that Toby Greene has had and a potential future leader of the club. And then, of course, you look at the Western Bulldogs. Has that last month of football really cost them a chance in AFL premiership if they lose? Yeah,
a couple of really big contests and all overtaken the first game, I think, by injuries, which we'll get into and talk about injuries and suspension. And then the second game is really, really intriguing for mine, especially when we get into our bet slips and speak about the odds and things like that. A few things to sweep under. Unfinals related, but AFL related, in terms of Collingwood hiring their new coach this week, and one from left field, some could say.
I think it's left field because it's a name that a lot of people outside of the AFL circle wouldn't know, Pez. You look at the big clubs like Collingwood and Carlton and Essendon, they generally go after those big dogs, and we were talking about this pre-show. It's been a long time since Collingwood have had to make an appointment for a start, and then to get a name that I guess with the general football lover probably wouldn't know in Craig McRae.
Yeah, well, he's coached his own club before as well, which I think is always a really big thing. So he led Richmond VFL side to a 2019 premiership, which is huge. He's premiership player as well, the 3 years at Brisbane, 2001, 02, 03 against Collingwood. So Collingwood fans would have, hated Craig back early 2000s, and now he's going to lead the way there. But you obviously watched his press conference as well, Sauce, and I thought he handled himself pretty well, and he was pretty, straight bat and playing by the rules. And if someone asked him a question and he just answered it, he wasn't going to elaborate if he didn't need to.
Yeah, what I like about this appointment, Pez, is it's the new Collingwood that they're really trying to turn away from its history, and they've put themselves in the perfect spot for a rebuild. McRae has experience at the AFL Academy. He worked there for 4 or 5 years, really breeding some young talent. So he knows how to identify the talent. He knows how to get some of these young stars. He's worked with Jamie Elliott, Brodie Grundy, and Darcy Moore. They're Collingwood players, as well as the abundance of players that have come through those academies. He spent 6 years under Clarko, which is a pretty good sort of tutelage there, Pez. One that Sam Mitchell didn't want to do, but it is definitely a good sort of tutelage there. So it's a good appointment for Collingwood, I think.
Yeah, well, you go out left field. It doesn't really matter who's going to be their coach in terms of them competing in the next few years. But for him to come in, maybe turn that club around and, blood some new talent, which is trying to be happening this year, and try and get the management of that club, the debacle that's been happening in the last few seasons, try and get that on the train tracks, get it straight, get it going, because the tram or the train has been derailed in the last few seasons at Collingwood, so they need to straighten that up.
Yeah, they need to start to bring some more credibility to it, Pez. And if you actually look at his coaching career and his playing coaching honours, he's one that brings success in everything that he touches. So hopefully, as a young coach, getting his first real crack at the reins, and where he's making all the decisions and that the Collingwood can be successful, because that's one of the things. Is whilst everyone doesn't like Collingwood, Pez, football's a lot better when those big clubs are playing and performing well.
Oh, football's a lot better when they're down the bottom of the ladder for mine, so if it's Collingwood.
Yeah, that's because you're a St Kilda supporter there, Bez.
You speak about the big names, and probably the big names on offer You got Alistair Clarkson, who, is available if you're looking in terms like that. You got Ross Lyon as the other massive name, and Collingwood, they weren't interested. They were definitely approached. I think at least Alistair Clarkson would have definitely had a conversation with them, and he probably doesn't want to go to a rebuilding club. We know Ross Lyon wants to come into a nearly ready-made list and be able to, get him to a grand final and lose in the next few years for whichever club he goes to, which brings us to Carlton and what's going on with them at the moment, because Ross Lyon was the roaring favourite to get the job. He was talking all over it. He was making comments about it as well in the media, and he's pulled out of the race for whatever reason today, and they're going to go through the full process.
Yeah, really interesting there, Pez, because he did put his sort of name in the ring, and then I think some of it sort of stemmed from Ed Langdon's comments after Melbourne's win over the weekend. Him talking about, how the impact that Simon Goodwin and the coaching style that he's had, Ed Langdon obviously coming from Fremantle and spending 5 years there. Just saying that, he, when he was in the locker room and players didn't look Ross in the eye, during meetings there'd be, really aggressive sort of reactions and yelling, and it's a really calming sort of environment to be in. So really interesting that those comments were made for a start. It's very unusual for a player to go on the call and put their ex-coach.
It's the most interesting thing, mate. That is the most interesting thing about this. Ed Langdon still in the finals. Why are you even getting involved? I'm really confused about why those comments were made public and why he even said that in the media.
Yeah, it's not a good look for Ed Langdon there at all, Pez, but I guess it sort of he hasn't really been questioned at all about it. It's sort of, they were just these comments made. There's been no follow-up to it, no anything, whatever. He wants to focus on his finals, which is his right to do, but why make those comments? I just don't understand it at all.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But Ross Lyon, out of Carlton, I thought Carlton would have been a better suit for him than the Collingwood list, because they've got, some up and up stars. You got Harry McKay, the Coleman medalist. You got Sam Walsh in the middle of the ground. You got Jacob Wiedering down back. You got Patrick Cripps in there. You got a few other players around there with a decent core that, with the right leadership and coaching, you'd think would be able to push, because everyone, all Carlton supporters, definitely think they're going to be able to push the 8 every single year with the talent that they got. And maybe they should be able to. So it'll be really interesting for mine when this coaching process is done and who they choose and what Ross Lyon's plans are in the future, because I'm 100% sure that he wants to coach again.
You don't come out with those sort of comments, Pez, saying, I'm putting my hat in the ring so close to after they'd done all the review, and Clarkson put his hand and said, what, I'm not going to do it. I think that if you listen to him on Triple M and you listen to him on Fox Footy and stuff, He's got a very great knowledge that definitely can be taken advantage by a club, but I think he's going to be really picky because he does want that ready-made side. So probably looking for one of these sides, as we talk about, Pez, in this finals campaign, that are disappointed. Like if Geelong don't, they go out in straight sets, Scott could be looking for a new role. I mean, I can't see them sacking him at the end of the season. They'll probably wait till his contract's out the door. But they're going to have the same thing at Brisbane, Pez. Another disappointing postseason. So I think in the next couple of months there will be some maybe some coaching jobs up there. But Ross Lyon definitely wants to get back in the game, but he wants that ready-made side.
Yeah, he needs to have someone. So he needs teams to really fall over and make a really big call on that. So he either didn't want Carlton in the end, or Carlton didn't want him, or something just wasn't marrying up. So that's the pretty weird coaching news, and probably the biggest thing to happen, not finals related. So the other big thing, of course, we spoke about our thoughts on it in our show earlier in the week, was Toby Greene, and we both said, he's definitely going to be suspended. We just don't know how long for. So he ended up getting a 3-match ban, which if they win every game, he would be suspended for the grand final, which is a pretty big call. But the AFL not happy enough with the 3-week suspension.
There is a range of things to unpack in this, Pez. The whole process. If we start from the real, right from the start there, the AFL went in and with the recommendation of 6 weeks, and then you look at what happened and what actually transpired during the tribunal. Toby Greene and his team went in there and pleaded not guilty for bumping, and pleaded, that he didn't mean to do it, and it wasn't disruptive, it wasn't disgruntled, it wasn't disrespectful, and basically pleaded the fifth, Pez, that I didn't do anything, which is a really odd thing to do in, especially when you listen to the media this week, the complexities of this and how blatantly obvious it was that he made contact with an umpire.
Yeah, very, very strange. A little bit of I was an accident. I was just, having a discussion with him and walked off and didn't realise where I was. He was just, heated in that moment. And we know Toby Greene, when he steps onto that footy field, he's going to be doing some certain things. There was an All-Australian team that came out this year of players that he's done something to get either fined or suspended, and he's able to fill the whole field. So he's one of the most, I would say, hated players by other clubs for that reason, where he takes some things too far. But I think if he doesn't take those things too far, he's not the player that he is. But in this circumstance, he's just got to be careful. He was suspended from a prelim final just 2 seasons ago, and now he's suspended for the rest of the final series when he is the most important player, maybe not even in that club, but in the AFL. And he needs to take a good hard look at himself. And, he's a great football player, great footy mind, and he's really aggressive. He needs to try and keep that aggressiveness without doing these stupid things to get suspended.
Yeah, and it comes at a very interesting time, Pez, because we look back before he got suspended, with what he just came off an appeal process, a month ago? And before that, we were talking about, him leading GWS into a final series and him having those, captain aspirations. We spoke just last week about, potentially him being the captain of the All-Australian side. And you can't have this sort of, it's peripheral sort of, there's a lack of peripheral vision in terms of what he's getting done for aren't football acts either, Pez. It's not like, he's copped a high bump from going in there. You look at the other one, it was a raised forearm, and you look at some of the other charges. We've got the eye gouge, we've got a kick, we've got a bumping of an umpire. Well, I mean, they're just stupid decisions, and he's had 22 charges across his 10-year AFL career. If he'd had the 6 weeks, Pez, this would have put him up at 16 weeks suspension across his 10-year career. Local footy, 16 weeks, you're deregistered. Like, think about
Lifetime
that.
suspension.
Think about that. Yeah. Like, he needs to get this out of his game, Pez, and we love players that play on the edge and we love players that go in hard, but these aren't hard acts. They're dumb, stupid, costing final series acts.
Oh, he's cost his team big time here. And if you're up in the leadership group or the management or the coaching staff at GWS, you'll be absolutely filthy for what he did. And is it that other players just need to keep getting in his ear? Like, I can see that he's, boiling over. Don't do anything stupid. Come here, attack him under the arm, walk him over so he's not walking near the umpire or the other team. Shouldn't have to be like that, especially with a player that should be the captain of that AFL club. So I'm sure we'll speak about his loss within the game when we get into our previews of it. But it's really disappointing for GWS and all their supporters.
Question without notice, Pez. What do you think they do in terms? He's currently the vice captain now. We've seen in the games where he was captain this year, and Stephen Coniglio is obviously probably not the person for the job in terms of the captain. We've seen his leadership skills on and off the field through the Prime documentary. We look at Toby Greene. We think that he's got that captain thing material. Do GWS make that call and make him a captain next year, or what do they do in terms of their leadership?
Before last week, I was 100% certain that was going to happen. Now, it's put a little bit of a shadow of doubt in my mind that maybe they can't put him as captain because he's bumped the umpire and got rubbed out for the final series. But if it's only the 3 weeks and the AFL review doesn't take it further and he can play round 1 next year, and if it's going to be the best thing for your footy club on the field, I can't see them not making that decision to put him as captain and just say to pull your head in.
Oh, imagine if that happens, Pez, the uproar that will go across the AFL. And media personnel alike. But I tend to agree, Pez. I think if he is able to be available for round 1, and look, if we're putting into context of 3 weeks, it's not 3 regular season games, Pez. It's 3 finals potentially. And, if GWS go all the way, he's missing out on a grand final, which is worth 7 or 8 weeks in terms of proper penalty. But if he's available week 1, and that might be the way that, Leon Cameron actually brings him in and says, hey, enough is enough. We need you to lead by example. Stop being a dickhead, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough talk there. And I don't know Toby Greene as a person or, how he acts around the club and things like that. But I think he's, before last week, the perfect man for the job. And he still might be the best choice for a job in terms of on-field leadership and on-field captaincy and on-field results. So we just have to wait and see what happens with that. If they've got someone else there that can do it, and he stays as vice captain, or he gets out of the leadership group completely and just focuses on, not doing anything stupid. But we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, we will have to see. We have to see how it unfolds, Pez. See how this tribunal and the appeal process. Very unusual to hear the AFL actually appeal a suspension. I think that's unfamiliar territory.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. But what's not pretty rough, or was pretty rough to start it off, was our bets from last week's source. So this is going to be a very interesting review here.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they won as well.
Here we go, Source. On Twitter, @BehindTheBound. I'm sure you haven't looked at your emojis yet, and you're going to see them for the first time. Yeah, but it wasn't just an up and down round like usual. It was a down, down, down round until the Sunday games, because here at Behind the Boundary, we could not, we put it on Twitter, I could not hit the side of a barn door. And it was a pretty big barn, so I don't know what's going on. But some upsets, some upsets that we picked that didn't happen, and it was just great week of finals footy as we reviewed it. But in terms of our bets, we had to wait till the Sunday to get some real success.
Yeah, Pez, sometimes when you're looking at the form guide and you do all your study and you do all your, talking throughout the week and your preview, sometimes you just miss the mark. If you look at the first game that we had, the Port Adelaide Geelong game, Geelong just didn't show up, right? And I think that's still both of our bets are decent sort of bets in terms of gauging towards Geelong actually winning. Geelong just didn't show up. Unlucky. The next one, Sydney, inaccurate. Unlucky. The Melbourne-Brisbane game, all right, we missed that one. Okay?
We got it wrong.
We got that one wrong. Okay, and then the Western.
We got them all wrong.
Well, the Western Bulldogs one we got right. We both said the Western Bulldogs we're gonna get up in there. So there's two games that sort of could have gone either way, and then the Melbourne Brisbane one we got wrong. We went out on a limb. Hey, but you know what, Pez? Unlike other podcasts and unlike other Twitter pages, we keep ourselves accountable. So let's find out where we went wrong.
Yeah, and the wrongness it doesn't seem to show on the weekly percentage and ROI, which is fantastic. So I'll speak about that. If you're following up Behind the Bound on the Sunday, you would have been having a look and very interested with what transpired there. We've got Port Adelaide versus Geelong. I had the unders of 168.5, Geelong plus 10.5, and Cam Guthrie for 25. No good there. Port Adelaide were just too good in their pressure. Absolutely amazing. Geelong didn't have an answer or a plan B.
No, they didn't, Pez, and we spoke about this on our last podcast. Make sure you go back and check that out because we did a great job of detailing what went wrong, but they just didn't have a plan B, as you said. It seems to be the trend for Geelong. And it definitely unfolded that way for our bets.
Yep, so your bet no good as well. We go on to the next game, and this game was my favourite game because it was the most suspenseful. You had a 1-point result, and you had the little brother GWS Giants beating Sydney for the third time in a row in a final. So I had the over 119.5 points, which it went. The under 189.5, which got up, and I had the Swans winning minus 9.5 because I was pretty confident. Buddy and Heaney and co would be able to get the job done against GWS down in Tasmania. Didn't happen, and got a bonus bet back for that Source.
Yeah, I thought I was still going to get a run home and get a victory here. I had the Swans minus 5.5 line with Ned's $2 the max state, and I thought I was going to get there the way that they were coming in that fourth quarter. But kicking 2-7 in that last quarter definitely meant that I fell short on that one. I didn't multi it up, Pez, because I was pretty confident the Swans could do it, and a bit disappointing that they were extremely inaccurate. As we said, Franklin, Bell, Heaney, you could name any of their forward line. They all missed opportunities to put that away, and that meant I was 0-2 going in there, Pez.
Yeah, Bell being the easiest, but you chucked in a live bet, Source.
I did, Pez. I did chuck in a live bet when they were down. I think it was the third quarter. And I was sort of sitting on it for a little bit, and I thought, you know what? No, I was actually tweeting and messaging with a fan of the show, Finster, and he actually jumped on at 25.5, and I was waiting, and then they kicked a goal, and I thought, you know what? I need to pull this. So I went 17.5, live bet, put on 50, Pez, and definitely got that one.
Well, at least you didn't have to sweat for that one at the end because you knew GWS were not scoring going down the other end. We moved to the Saturday night game, and just got this one wrong. I've underrated Melbourne, overrated Brisbane. I don't know what's happening there. We spoke about how Melbourne have all these players that are unknown household names, and the way they play, they're just able to get the job done and really tear Brisbane apart there. And Brisbane had some opportunities to keep with them, but no opportunities to continue to go with Melbourne winning comfortably by 33 points. I had Joe Danaher anytime goal kicker. Oh, that was you. You got Joe Danaher anytime goal kicker. I was going to say, I didn't do that.
Yeah,
I had Lincoln McCarthy anytime goal kicker, which he got. McCluggage for 20 plus, which he got. And Brisbane plus 5.5 at that $2 line, but I did not hit the mark on that. So a bonus to use this week.
Yeah, I definitely didn't hit the mark on my pairs. I was on the wrong Brisbane forward. Charlie Cameron obviously going nuts. I had two bets in this one being my cheeky Joe Danaher, anytime goal scorer, him to score 2 or more, and him to kick the most goals. If I was on the other forward pairs, if on Charlie Cameron, that would have been a nice little collect, but backed the wrong horse in that one, like I did with Brisbane, because in my other one, I had Joe Danaher to kick a goal, Joe Danaher to kick 2 goals, and Brisbane plus 5.5. I threw away $35 total there, Pez.
Yeah, you backed him twice. You could have backed a different goal kicker, and maybe it would have been different. Two different at the same time. I had the bonus as well of Brisbane head-to-head and just thought at $2.10, I'll give it a go. Melbourne, not playing at the MCG and a neutral venue at Adelaide Oval, but as we know, Melbourne too good, and we head to the Sunday game, the Bulldogs versus Essendon. Essendon fans super excited and super confident, which was really strange throughout the week for a team that had so many more wins and was so much better throughout the season. I know they struggled in the last month before that, but the Doggies here saved my round from being an absolute basket case and a disaster.
Yeah, definitely saved mine as well, Pez. Essendon came out firing a little bit. They blamed the umpires. They blamed the rain. They blamed the weather. They only have themselves to blame. But, Pez, we picked this. We said it was going to be a thumping. The weather made it a little bit harder to get to that thumping. I had a minus 16.5. Pick your own line with $25. Thank you very much for that one, Pez. Thank you, your mother, for the Rabbits. And that meant I had 2 wins for the round, which I was pretty stoked with.
Yeah, you've got that. I had my one as well. McRae 25 plus, Libba 20 plus, and the Bulldogs minus 9.5. So a nice $2.54 get there. So a nice return. And I then had one that I put out before the game, about 22 minutes. You can see on the little screenshot there on our Betslip, which was the Western Bulldogs minus 10.5. It went to at that stage, 3/4 time leader and head to head with that same game multi special, and max 50 on it. Was very confident at $2 and returned the 100 to make my round not look as bad.
Yeah, speaking of not looking too bad, Pez, I threw a little bit of a Hail Mary there too. And boy, did it pay off, Pez. So just talk you through this one, Pez. I was looking at the game and it was about 15 minutes to go. The Bulldogs were up by 25 points. And I thought, you know what, Pez? They're going to do this by a decent sort of margin. So I jumped on Sportsbet to see what was happening. Boom, 40-plus line was paying 10 buckaroos with 15 minutes to go.
The old double cheeky $10.
And I thought, you know what? How can I resist that one? I put 25 on it, and then as soon as I put it on, Pairs, I quickly get it up on there. Boom, Norton kicks back-to-back goals, and I'm looking in real stead. That brings it up to like 34 points. Then Essendon sort of tightened it up a little bit, Pez. And to take you through the experience I was having, just constantly hitting the refresh button with cash out. And I had $16.25 I started off with, then $43.5. Then I had $118.85, $127, went down to $122, went back down to $119, and then it was no cash out available. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to get this 40 points. I'm going to fall just short. I should have cashed out. And then thank you very much, Pez. 2 brilliant goals come in that fourth quarter when Essendon laid down, and I collected a giant $250 from that bet, Pez.
Oh, wow. If you look at it before that bet source, you were, a little bit down there, but that'd bump your ROI up a bit, I'd imagine. So we'll get to our ROI just in a second because we've got a few to go with. I've got my multi there, my cheeky multi, which was no good because we just said I missed the first 3 games, so there was no way that was getting up. My actual multi for the round, which was the same as yours, Source, 1 out of 4, so that was very good. But I've got a future bet that's still alive, which is Melbourne to lose the prelim final, so to go out in the preliminary final. So I've still got hope in that one because they're in the prelim final, but I thought they'd lose the first week, win the second week, lose the third week. So we'll see how they go depending on who they get next week.
Yeah, Pez, as you said, I had the exact same multi as you, so that was no good. But my future one is still alive too, and looking in pretty good stead. I had Clayton Oliver to get the most disposals during the final series, and he has 33, and that was at $7 I got him. He's come into $5 and sitting at equal second, and he's sitting probably equal third, I think it is, in terms of where he's sitting in terms of disposal. Lockie Neal's got 46, Ollie Wines has 33, Clayton Oliver has 33, McRae has 36, and Duncan has 33. Todd Liberatore has 35, so he's definitely in that top 5 there. Hopefully they can get a... Well, actually, no, I don't hope they can get a win because now they fall on the same side as Geelong, so I hope that bet loses, actually.
Well, you've got Lockie Neal with 46, so if Brisbane win on the weekend, you'd imagine he'd get at least 20, so he'd be in pretty good stead with 3 games in the final series there if Lockie Neal gets sparked. If the Bulldogs get up, though, that bet would still be alive depending what happens with that prelim final. So they're where we sit after finals week 1, and this is what the ROI looked like. I staked $185. I returned $163.50. An ROI of minus 11.62%, which I thought was going to be a lot worse when I missed those first 3 games. It was not looking good. Total stake for the year, $4,700, returned $5,043.67 for an ROI of 7.31%. So down a little bit in the season ROI from last week, but we're still around the mark.
Yeah, that's not bad, Pez. That's not bad for you. That's a nice little save, 7.3%. We get on to my finals week 1, and I was feeling exactly the same, Pez. I staked originally under 260, but then I had 75 in live bets, so that went me up to 260. Returned $401.25, all basically because of that 40+ bet, but that gave me an ROI of 54.3%, which means for the season, Pez, Get those emojis out, Pez. Get the buildings up and about because I am building an empire. I've staked for the season $4,170 and returned $4,856.04, an ROI of 16.45%, Pez. Oh, you're going to name the whole island. I'm going to take over your stock as well, and then I'm just going to own this island.
Mate, you might with, $345 returned due to live bets. So get on the live bets. Let's have a look at the emojis. It looks like, let's see if you know what mine mean.
Yeah, you were cold. You were shit house. Terrible.
Ice cold. I've still got my house though at 7.31%. And your one's there?
Well, Pez, I love what you've done here. You've finally recognised how much of a great bettor I am and an expert because you put a ninja there, Pez. And let's review what a ninja is, Pez. You don't have any sort of Joe Blow as a ninja. They are the top of their field. They are dangerous. They are calm. They are experts. And they're ready to strike at any moment. So I love that one, Pez. That just definitely sums up my bets. So I love that.
Yeah, you've got the little arm there holding the phone, and that was you on the weekend with the live bets out. So you were stealthy throughout the round. You were not liking the way your round was going, and you thought, I'll just try and hold my phone up, get some service, and we'll see if I can put some live bets down and get it up.
Pez, this is what you don't understand, Pez. When you're so far behind in the ROI, I understand, but calm, cool collective. Everything was a collective and calculated move, and just trying to set up a good finish for the viewers. That's all I'm trying to do, Pez.
Well, there's your hotel there at 16%. Let's see if you can get up to 20 in the next few weeks. So we've got 3 weeks of footy, only 5 matches to go. So we've also got the Brownlow in there as well. So we'll see how we go in terms of that. But we reviewed it. We're sitting there, Sauce. We're ready to climb in the semi-final week, and we need to get into our bets.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Our bets with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
You're not going to welcome me? You're not going to press the specials button? What are you doing?
Well, normally you say, well, blah, 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 something specials, blah, 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 but you're just sitting there, Pez, doing nothing. I mean, I know that you're frozen over. I know that you're frozen over, Pez, but just turn the aircon off in your little house there and we can get to the specials.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
Yeah, unbelievable. And here we go with the specials. We've got sports bet, the same as last week, the same game multi-saver, 3 to 4 legs if 1 leg fails, 5 to 6 legs if 2 legs fail, or 7+ legs up to 3 legs can fail, and you'll get a bonus back. And you can do 3 refunds per match. We know there's only 2 matches here. Same game multi-specials also over at Tab, up to $50 as well. And Tab, you'll like this one, Source. They've got the lead at halftime but lose. You get a bonus back up to 50, a venue exclusive bet.
Oh, do you know where I'm going this weekend, Pez? I'm going straight down to the TAB and I'm going to sit out the front and not be able to get that because we're in Victoria. I almost swore then, and we're in lockdown. So not able to do that at all, Pez. Love it.
You got a Tab 5Ks from your house?
I do actually, yeah. There's one on the corner. When we were doing, we actually talked about it, Pez. It's very close to the Lincolnshire. But I will not be going to there.
So it's very it's closed, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't. I might go for a ride. I might go for a ride there tomorrow and see if it's see if I can walk in. I mean, it is essential. It is essential because it is, this is a full-time gig, Pez. Carrying you through the season is a full-time job.
We've got to work. We've got to feed the family, so we've got to try and do this. We move over to Ladbrokes. They've got the $2 lines for AFL. And they've also got the 3+ leg same game multi for both games there. You go to Ned's, they've got the same game multi, but you can also price boost. So if you're going to do a same game multi and you've got a price boost there sitting in your account, maybe head over to Ned's to get the best value. They've got the $2 lines as well, which you can include in the same game multi, by the way. So that's what we've got for the specials this week. That
is the specials, Pez, which brings us into the 2-game final series. Week 2 of the finals, some massive games, as we've sort of alluded to. The way this is going to work, Pez, I'll go through the odds. Then we're going to talk about the actual game and how both teams can win, the big inclusions, the game styles that we're expecting to see, make a tip, and then we'll get into our bets. So, on the Friday night, we head to an absolute cracker. Geelong taking on the GWS Giants. 137. Geelong are the favourites. $3.14 of the outsiders. The line, I think, is crazy low, Pez. 16.5 for the Cats you can get. Over under total points, 154.5, Pez. How does this game unfold?
Oh, well, we don't know, do we? We think that Geelong will come out, especially without Toby Greene, but GWS have beaten them before on their home deck when no one was with them. So we'll go through the ins and outs because it is, after 6:25 on the Thursday. So we've got them here. Dalhouse has been omitted along with Sam Simpson. Mark O'Connor with his injury last week and Sean Higgins managed. In comes Max Holmes, Radigalia, Zach Tui. I would imagine Higgins would come back in as the medical sub as well, barring any other changes. So Holmes, Radigalia, Tui. Tui's a big in. GWS, you've got both Greens. So we know Toby Greene's been suspended for the rest of the final series. And you've got Tom Green, who also had an injury last week, who was a very important player against the Sydney Swans last week, that inside type midfielder. And then we've got Sam Reid injured. In come Bobby Hill and Connor Stone. So the GWS Giants team get a lot weaker. And Geelong, I don't know about weaker or stronger, but Zach Tui is a big in.
Zach Tui definitely adds some consistency to that back line and allows them to... I mean, when Stewart went down, I think a lot of people thought that Tui would be that natural replacement for him. He's got that long boot. He sort of plays up the field as it is. So it'd be good to see him in there as well, Pez. Radigalia is a great inclusion that gives him other forward presence. And I think the omission of Dalhouse is important too, because the last month he really hasn't been performing to the reason that we brought him in the team, to that little goal sneak and apply that forward pressure. He just had a rough couple of months. I'm sure that he'll get back in that side, eventually, but it's just a little bit of a wake-up call for him. But I
thought he was going to get omitted last season.
He should have last season.
And not come back. Yeah.
But I think the Toby Greene week has really overshadowed how big some of these outs are, Pez. There's 3 key players. Toby Greene, Tom Green has been fantastic this year and a real cog in that GWS midfield. And Reid going out as well with that hamstring. It's not good for them, and they are injury depleted. They did do this almost a month ago to Geelong. They went down to Condinia Park and they did beat Geelong. So you would hope that Chris Scott has planned to overcome that game plan. That was sort of that first week of Tom Stewart not being there. They've sort of definitely made Geelong force those long kicks in there so they can get intercepted. It'll be interesting to see how Scott responds to this.
Yeah, well, you've got to look at the GWS side and who's actually playing. So we've said all the players that are out, but who have they actually got on the field and what do they need to do in order to win? Sam Taylor has taken that fullback spot and been really impressive with his intercept work against Sydney last week. Sydney didn't have an answer for him pretty much in that first half, and he was just mopping up everything. So if he can, contain Hawkins or get in front of him or do anything like that and start getting those intercept marks and really try and run the other way, with Haynes there, Whitfield, Kelly, so they can run the other way. Canelio, he needs to perform. He needs to have one of his biggest games ever here in order to be doing that. The thing that GWS has been doing really well over the past month and a half of footy is their forward line. So you got Jesse Hogan. He was a contested mark beast in that first final against Sydney. You got Himmelberg as well, who's a good second runner there, and Taranto, who's popping up forward as well and kicking goals. So that's what they need to do. Mumford needs to be really aggressive in the middle. Hopper and Ward really need to get up and improve because no Tom Greene there as well makes that midfield a lot weaker. So they're going to need a lot of different things. Matty DeBoer is going to have to take, I don't know if he goes, who's he usually go to? Does he go to Guthrie? Does he go to Duncan?
He normally goes to Duncan, but then again, Duncan... he's only been back 1 week. He was still very damaging last week. He got a lot of the pill, but it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I would assume that he probably goes to Duncan and probably does a little bit of work through on Dangerfield if he goes through the midfield, as well as Guthrie as well, depending on who the impact is. One thing that GWS do well is they seem to react quite quickly when players aren't making that impact, when they shift off those players. But you talked about that midfield and that backline pairs, what they're doing really well, and that's the thing that we saw last week really unstuck Geelong, is those intercept marks, and they basically look like they were kicking it to Alia. If they go in with that same game plan against this GWS side, Pez, they're gonna find them in the same sort of problem that they had last week, kicking it straight to defenders and then finding themselves behind the ball, and GWS getting out in the front like they did last time, kicking into a forward line that, as you said, is functioning really well. They're getting some great contested marks. They're getting a couple of goals out the back. The inclusion of Hill in there means that he's a great little goal sneak out the back. It puts them in a good spot. So it's all about Geelong executing from last week's failure. And
it's dangerous for Geelong because we know they don't love to smash sides. So if they're going to keep the game close and they're going to control the footy, GWS can come at any moment. We saw them give up a massive lead against Melbourne. GWS would have been studying what Melbourne did, and what they did is they moved fast. They moved fast through Geelong's little zone that they've got going. So if they do get that intercept mark, they've just got to take off. They've got to go. They've got to have the runners. They've got to handball. They are going to have their fitness really tested. We saw last week in that fourth quarter, they nearly had nothing left in the tank and were able to hold on against Sydney. So they've got to give everything across those first three quarters and be in a position to be able to either hold or to be able to push it out for one more quarter to get a prelim finals berth. You look on the other hand, you've got Geelong. You need to execute. Zach Tui's going to shore it up down back there with the nice kick that he's got, the Irishman there. And you need to contain Jesse Hogan when GWS go forward.
Yeah, and I think if we're swinging around to talk about Geelong, Pairs, before we get to that, that's what we've been saying all year about GWS. When they're playing their best footy is when they're running and they're attacking, and Melbourne definitely exposed that against Geelong. When you do move the ball quickly and you go through that defence and straight up the guts, you create opportunities. So I think GWS will go in that way, and it'll be really interesting to see how Geelong respond. We look at last week against Port Adelaide. Geelong, there were 4 or 5 of their senior players that probably had their worst game of their career. Dangerfield made no impact. Joel Selwood made no impact. Tom Hawkins made no impact. You look at some of their defence players. Henderson easily, I don't think he'd had that many turnovers his whole career. He had so many drop marks. He was very sloppy. They had a really disgusting game, Pairs. And watching that, you still felt like that Geelong could make some sort of comeback. And that's the thing with Geelong. They've got the cattle to be able to do this. They just need to go back to a month ago, stick to their structure. Right, so stick to the structure from the start, and if it's not working, adjust. Very simple. They execute their structure perfectly, they win the game. They set up those opportunities to score. We know that they can score at a ferocious sort of weight. We know they love to control the possession, and if they get into a keepings off games that they execute properly, they'll beat the GWS Giants pretty easy.
Yeah, well, GWS, they gave up a lot of opportunities to Heaney in that third quarter last week against Sydney there. So you'd think a player like that, probably a Gary Rowan, who can take that overhead mark on the lead, can go back and have a nice set shot. He was all out last week. He had no impact at all. He got moved into the back line, which I don't think is a great fit for the type of player that he is. But he needs to, get up and fire up. If he kicks a couple of goals, Geelong will usually get the chocolates.
Yeah, you'd think so, Pez. So with that, before we get into our bets, who are you tipping?
I'll have to tip Geelong here after going 1 out of 4 last week. I will take the Cats here. I know they're a bit shorter in their price, but without Toby Greene, it's in Western Australia over there. I think that Geelong with Henry down back, Tui added in there, and they've got enough talent in that midfield to get down the wings and get good shots inside that forward 50 and win pretty comfortably by about 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, I'm tipping the Cats too, Pez. Typically what you see in these sort of finals generally is you generally see some blowouts, Pez, because you're getting a top 4 team and everyone jumps off the team that plays poorly the first week because they've been beaten and they look exposed, but there's a reason that these teams finish top 4, and Geelong, when they're up and firing, they look really good, and I think they'll do the Giants pretty easy. I probably think I think probably around that same sort of margin, Pez, about that 24 points, 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, well, there we go. Now, in terms of the Betslip source, this is where it gets interesting. So the structure that we're going to run with is you have the option. We've only got 2 games, so there's not a lot to go with. You have the option to bet twice. So you can bet 2 bets in the same game there. And then you can also put together a multi across both games. And if you want, you can also add a cheeky in there across 1 or 2 games as well. So you've got lots of different options in terms of these 2 games. I've got a couple of bets on the Cats Giants game. What about you?
I don't even know why you bothered going through the rules, Pez. Neither of us ever stick to the rules, but I like how you've explained it to the new viewers there, thinking that we stick to the rules. I've got a couple of bets in the Geelong GWS game, Pez. I'm a little bit more confident in the result of that game than I am the Brisbane Western Bulldogs one. We'll get. Do you want to just
not say them and just wait until tomorrow night and do the live bets and just maybe do that?
Told you, Pez. Calm, calculated, and collective. I'm going to make a big collection, Pez, and I'm happy to put a couple of VBs on some of these bets.
Well, there you go. You got the money for VBs. The listeners don't want to listen to your bet slip. They already know your bet. You've posted it out on Twitter 2 days ago. You're all up and about, excited for it.
That's
Dill's finally happy that you've got the money for VBs back. So that's awesome there. My first bet here, I've gone with Neds, and this is a trend across the round because I got 2 bonuses from Neds, and I've also used my 2 power plays in the 3-leg same game multis. So Geelong, I've gone the $2 line because it's a $2 line. I couldn't resist. Minus 16.5. I think they can get the job done. Mitch Duncan to get 20 disposals and Jeremy Cameron to kick 2 or more goals. So that gives me $2.84. I put $25 on that with the price boost and the special bonus back.
Like that, Pez. As you said, and as you alluded to, I have already put my bet out on Twitter. So make sure you go over there and check that out. You can check all our bet slips out from there. I will go through it just for those people who don't access Twitter. What are you doing? Get on the Twitter and you can get yourself some nice little tips there. I've gone with Geelong minus 16.5, Cameron Guthrie to get 20, and Mitch Duncan to get 20 disposals. I put the max 50 on that, Pez. I think that line should be out to about 20. It still hasn't moved yet, which I'm really surprised with, especially with the teams announced. That gives me odds of $2.32. I didn't do the price boost because it wasn't there. I wasn't risking taking away that insurance, and I put the max 50 on that one, Pez. But my bets don't stop there. Pez. I've got another bet in that game, and that one is a great bet as well, Pez. As I said, I think Geelong do this pretty easy. I've got a 3-leg same game multi with Sportsbet, and I went through the wire-to-wire market, Pez. You can give you odds of $2.20 for wire-to-wire. I've gone with Geelong quarter-time line, minus 3.5, Geelong half-time leader, and Geelong 3/4 time leader. And I put 25 on that one, Pez, at odds of 225. Get myself a little bit of insurance, and as I said, I think that they get the job done wire to wire, but I do like that little bit of insurance.
All right, then go on with the insurance. Now, my bet's very similar to that source, but I've got a bonus on it, so I couldn't do the loophole and put some insurance there. So I've just gone Cats to lead at every quarter, wire to wire, $2.30.
Oh, you must have done that. $2.30. When did you do that bet?
Before we started recording our show.
Oh, that's crap.
In between 6.25 and now, but mine's a bonus, so I don't have the insurance, obviously.
Yeah, mine sounds shit then because I've lost 5 cents on it, and I need them not only, and I need them to also be winning by 4 points, Pez. But like we said, we don't stick to the rules because my bets don't stop there, Pez.
Cheeky.
Here we go.
I've got one more bet for this one, Pez, and this one is extremely cheeky. What I think is, as I said, I think that the game opens up, and I think that Geelong end up winning the game pretty convincingly. I think they will be worried about that intercept mark, Pez, so I think they're going to get a couple of goals out the back. So my cheeky for this week is a 3-leg same-game multi. I've gone a couple of our little crummers to get some goals. Parfitt, he had 2 behinds last week coming off the pack. I reckon he gets a snag. Brad Close, he's a nice little crummer. He seems to be getting a goal every couple of weeks. I reckon he gets one. And then the one where I've really boasted up some little cash there, Pairs, Sam Menegola to get a goal as well. So I've got 3 goal scorers for there. Sam Menegola loves to have a ping from anywhere. He's about 70 out. He just always seems to have a shot. That gives me odds of $10, and I've whacked 25 on that one there, Pairs.
Well, there you go. All players that, are goal kickers in the past and have kicked goals, so they've just all got to do it in the same game, and you're good to go from there. $10 odds. You did well with the $10 odd bet last week, so see how you go with that one. The next game, is that all your bets for that game?
That is all the bets for that, Pez. I'll stuck to the rules from now on.
That's all your bets. I've got another one which will include that game, but that's for later on in the multi-source. So let's introduce the next game. We've got the Brisbane Lions taking on the Western Bulldogs.
We do, Pez. We have this, and it's sort of a mini rivalry, this one, because they both were fighting for that 4th spot. Western Bulldogs obviously falling short, and the Brisbane Lions falling short last week. We have Brisbane taking on the Doggies at the Gabba, Brisbane's home ground. $1.60 favourites for the Brisbane Lions. Western Bulldogs, $2.34, which, Pez, is quite good, I think, for a team that spent most of the year in the top 4. -8.5 is the line at $1.90, and the over-under for this game, total game points, 164.5.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And you look at these two teams. You've got a couple of big ins and outs here. You've got Daniel McStay, who's got injured in the first quarter last week, and he can't play this week. Jackson Pryor has been omitted, so Jack Payne and Devon Robertson come in. Reece Matheson possibly might be the Medi sub again. We're not sure. And then Jason Johannesson, the Medi sub from last week. No other changes to the Bulldogs side, so you'd imagine he'd be the Medi sub again for the Dogs there. Brisbane going favourites. It's good for them. They get to play at their home deck at the Gabba, so that's a real positive. They did play some good footy against Melbourne, so people like to think Brisbane are coming off a loss and the Bulldogs are coming off a really big win. So maybe the Bulldogs have the momentum. But Brisbane can shut that down pretty quickly. They've got a really dangerous forward line still, even without McStay and Hipwood and Rayner and those type of people. So they've got a few injuries there, but they can still do it, I think. Liberatore is going to have to play another huge one in the middle of that ground. This midfield battle is going to be absolutely awesome. You've got Zorko, McCluggage, Robinson, who will go through there, Lyons, Neal, taking on McRae, Bontempelli, Dunkley, Trelaw, Hunter, Bailey Smith. It is a really star-studded type midfield lineup here. I think both forward lines are a little bit weaker than they have been with injuries, because Josh Bruce is obviously out as well, doing his ACL. So it'll be a battle of the defence and who can keep on top of them. You got Harris Andrews on Norton. So Norton's a known goal kicker. He usually pops up every single week. And then you've got Birchall and Rich to run off that back line. Marcus Adams also to intercept there. You look down the other end, Alex Keith has played a fantastic season. He come back in last week, and he'll take the job possibly on Joe Danaher, depending where he goes. But they're so dangerous up forward, Brisbane, with Charlie Cameron there. You've also got Lincoln McCarthy, who can take a big grab and kick goals. And then you've got Zach Bailey coming from the midfield as well, and he's a really opportunist and can get some goals there. So Gardner, who came in last week, has a really big job down there in the Brisbane defence. So I think whoever can get on top in that situation will go a long way to winning this game.
Yeah, I love what you said at the start there, Pez, about Brisbane. Whilst they did sort of get dismantled by Clayton Oliver in that second half, they had a really, really competitive start to the game, and they did fade when Clayton Oliver took over. And when a player's playing like that, you can't there's nothing that they could do. They just controlled the game, and as you said, they were really competitive and they did a lot of things right. you look at their last month, Pez, and Brisbane Lions have been coming, and they've been coming in a furious fashion, unlike the Doggies. And I think that whilst they did bounce back last week and with a 49-point win, they did what they were meant to do. Like, realistically, you've got a fourth team playing a bottom 8 side, a team that sort of scraped through there. They did exactly what they were meant to do, Pez, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle this. Brisbane have been here before, Pez, and Chris Fagan knows exactly what to do. He gets in there, gets the midfield going, and I agree what you're saying. It is a star-studded midfield battle, and where the game is going to be won is not through the goal kickers, because, as you said, you've got so many different things that can happen. Last week, Charlie Cameron went absolutely nuts for Brisbane. Last week, Cody Waitman went absolutely nuts. You had two small forwards standing up. I can't see that both happening again for both those forward lines. The game is going to be won in that midfield battle, as well as how they stop the other team. I think that Daniel McStay's that injury last week is a huge out. Really, really huge out. Not for the fact of his impact of kicking goals, but the structure for Brisbane. Okay, so we've seen that sort of the last month that really deplete, and it means Joe Danaher really needs to play a more structured role in order to get that midfield going and allow those goals to be created for Lincoln McCarthy, Bailey, Cameron, those other players, Zorko. You look at even to last week, who else was it? Daniel Rich had a couple of pings. Like, that is what they need to do, is work that structure out. I have faith in the Lions, Pez. I think they can get it done. I think the last month has really sort of said where the Doggies are, and I just think that they're just behind the mark. Brisbane are building. Brisbane want this. Brisbane need this. They really need this.
Well, 100% they need this, and it'll be a big loss either way, whoever loses this, because the Bulldogs cost themselves a top 4 spot, and Brisbane do not want to go out in straight sets, and they want to, go into the next week's game where they'll take on Port Adelaide over there, so they'll give themselves a shot in a prelim if they can get there as well. So massive stakes on the line. It's from now on, it's win or go home.
Yeah, and I think another big factor that we haven't really spoken about, Pez, is the impact that the crowd is going to have. We saw 2 weeks ago when they were playing West Coast how much the crowd made an impact on that game, and I think it's we saw against Port Adelaide Geelong how much the crowd impacted Port Adelaide playing and getting that momentum going. Brisbane is a hard place to play on. It's dewy. It's normally a hot conditions. You got a crowd there, and you got the Doggies who have come from a cold, wet Tasmanian game where there would have been a lot of hard fatigue players coming out of that, coming onto the airport into the Gabba. So I think that's going to play a big factor as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. When not a home ground advantage for the Bulldogs last week by any stretch either, with so many Essendon fans down there in Tasmania as well. They seem to be everywhere and seem to think they're going to win the premiership every single year. So we both obviously think the Lions are from that. So our bet slip is possibly going to reflect that source. My first one is I've gone a 3-leg same game multi. I've left the result out of this one. I've put Jared Lyons to get 20 plus. I've put Charlie Cameron to stand up again and kick 2+ goals. He just needs 2 opportunities, and that can happen. Bang, bang. And then Zach Bailey to get his opportunity running forward. He seems to be doing that every single week, and he's becoming one of my favourite players to watch. So I've got him anytime goal scorer. Price boost, power boost, $2.12, $25 on it.
Yeah, Bailey is so underrated, Pez. He's one of those players that a lot of people, as you said, the general football lover probably doesn't know. But he's so good to watch. He's so quick. His skills are really good around the ground. And you're right, he's popping up for a goal every now and then. So love that bet.
You know what the biggest attribute for him is the footy IQ. Knowing where to be in the stoppage and how to get that little bit of space just to go. And then the way he kicks it inside forward 50 as well, even if he's not kicking goals, it's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it is beautiful to watch, Pez. Love that bet. I think that one's going to get up there. Charlie Cameron to kick 2 snags. He'll get that done in the first quarter, mate. He's an absolute genius. And when he's up in full flight, geez, he's good to watch. He's one of the best small forwards to watch in the game. I think Brisbane can get it done. I think it will be a little bit closer than than people expect. I think a lot of people think that the Doggies are just going to lay down. They really, really want to get this, but I just don't think they're going to be good enough. I think the home crowd plays an advantage. I think they're better coached as well. I think Chris Fagan, they've been building towards this, Pez. The last couple of years, they were disappointing their first finals. They made it one step further last year. They were very disappointing in that loss to Geelong last year. So they can get this job done. I've gone my bonus bet from the Geelong game, 1-39 with Brisbane, and that gives me odds of $2.15, Pez. Is that just the notification coming through of? You already cashed out, Pez? You already cashed out your bet?
It's just saying be wary. Source is using his phone for live bets this weekend.
Yeah, well, yep. I'm on the prowl, Pez, because that's my only bet this weekend in that game. There's only one for there. I really want to look at the disposal markets for that one because last week there was some absolute value just before the game. And I'll be looking at the live bet. The live bet, the footy changes during finals, Pez, and the bookies don't seem to be onto it.
All right, I'll keep your eye on there at Behind the Bound on Twitter to get that notification first, and you might be able to jump on with Source. I've gone at my bonus bet in this game as well, Source. I've gone Brisbane 1-39, so just exactly what you've got. I don't think they're going to blow them out by 40 points because the Western Bulldogs, they've just got too many stars in that midfield, so I think they're going to be competitive for a long period of time. I've put Tom Liberatore to get 20-plus disposals there. I liked his value. And Hugh McCluggage to get 20-plus disposals. His value was very decent as well, and I think he can get 25-plus even. So those three together gets me $3.07, and I put my $25 bonus on it.
Oh, did I sense some money for BBs there, Pez?
Oh, you didn't sense much. But speaking about money for VBs, I made an error during the week, Source. Went to the Bottle-O, and I want to get in and out really quick because, this COVID thing and the pandemic. I go into the cool room. I see, first thing I see is just a glowing green, the box of VB cans. And I was like, I don't want cans. I want stubbies. So I went next to it, box of stubbies, grabbed it, great, took it to the counter. Didn't even look at the price because I'm only going to get the very best. The bloke scans it. That'll be $46. Oh, you little ripper, $46 for a slab. Bring it home, put it on the table, open it up, go to put them out into the fridge, and they're the little grenades. The
little hand grenades. You didn't notice when you picked it up, Pez? Or have you been hitting the gym a little bit, have you? You didn't notice the change in the weight?
No, I picked it up, and it's actually, they're not in six-packs either. So it was like a little bit...
what do you mean they're not in six-packs? What are they, loose?
They're not in six-packs. They're just loose. They're sitting there all together in their small box, and the glass was going on glass, and I was like, that's a bit weird, but didn't think anything of it. I've got to get straight out of there, and that's what ended up happening. So 250 mil, little hand grenade.
All right, two questions here, Pez. One, why didn't you just dig into the sponsored beers that we have in the studio? Why didn't you just jump into the sponsors?
Well, during lockdown, I'm not able to go in there with other people coming in for their essential work. So if I'm not doing that during the week, I can't go in there.
Yeah, definitely the sponsor of the show. The VB's the very best. The second question, Bez, the question on everyone's mind: did you do the hand grenade challenge? Did you get through? Did you get through them all?
Not in the one day. Didn't attempt that. Just sitting there by yourself watching the footy. No, I didn't end up doing that. But I've been having a nice couple. It's actually a good size for a beer if you just feel like a beer after dinner or something. Nice little size, but you can't just have one. You've got to have a couple.
Well, that's any time with the very best pairs of cans, beers, stubbies, off tap, out of a shoe. It don't matter. They're very best.
One standard drink, not the 1.4 like the usual stubbies. So there you go.
Doesn't sound that good at all. All right, let's get on to something really good, Pez. Our multis for the round. As you said, there are only two games, Pez. I've kept mine extremely simple. I've gone the two winners, Brisbane and Geelong, both to win. That gives me odds of $2.19, and I've just whacked 25 on that one, Pez. Nice and simple.
Yeah, I've gone really, really simple here as well. So my first leg is Mitch Duncan to have 20-plus disposals. My second leg is Geelong Cats, the half-time, full-time leader. My third leg is Cameron Guthrie to get the most disposals in Group A. So he needs to get the most disposals on the ground there. Of my next leg is Geelong minus 16.5. So you can see I've kept it really simple. My leg after that is Lockie Whitfield as well, also to have 20-plus disposals. And then I'm all done for that game, but I'm not done for my multi yet because I've got a few more legs in the next game.
Of course you do.
I'll put Joe Danaher to kick 2+ goals, all right, in this one. And then Adam Treloar to have 20-plus disposals as well. I've put the cheeky 10 on it, Source, so you might want to hit that cheeky button.
Cheeky!
And the price is $25.37.
Pez, it does not get any simpler than that. I don't know what to tell you. I'm very good luck to fit that on the Betslip, Pez. It's a lucky we haven't got as many bets, but it doesn't get any simpler than that.
Look, I do not know how you thought yours bet was simple when I've got my multi there which is really, really simple. Only a 7-leg same-game multi across 2 games. Can't get any better.
It can't get any simpler. Can't get any better, Pez. You've definitely hit the mark there, and some very, very nice odds too. $24.10. Did you say? That's beautiful. Love that.
$25. Yep.
Love that, Pez. All right,
We
Pez.
like it.
Have you got any more simple bets for us? Any more simple advice, or are we ready to get on to coin toss?
Now we're getting into the coin toss. This bet slip will be up on Twitter at Behind the Bounce, so make sure you jump on board and have a look at them all.
It was a toss of the coin.
That 5 wins the toss.
Yes, it's been an unusual year for coin tosses.
Big time again!
All right, Pez. Last week we were the exact same for all 4 games, and we weren't very successful at all, Pez.
Yeah, how many lines would have we got there? We
One.
got one.
one right. And Pez, since I think I was 2 up on you for the season, so that means that I still remain 2 up.
Yep, 2 up. Only 5 games to go, so it's getting into it.
It is getting into it, Pez. Do you want me to go first, or I feel like we're going to be very similar in these sort of lines, Pez?
Yeah, well, you can go first. There's 5 games left. I can still be the same as you in a couple, but there'll be soon where I'll just have to go the opposite way. So, first game.
First game
What do you
is
got?
Geelong versus GWS. The line favours the Cats, minus 16.5. I'm going the Cats.
Yeah, and I would challenge you on that and go the other, but I've also got Geelong minus 16.5, so I can't be going against that. So I'm going to go the Cats as well.
You don't want to hedge your bet, Pez? You don't want to just hedge, so win-win?
No win-win there for me.
No win-win for there, Pez. Let's see how you go in this one. Brisbane versus the Doggies. The line is minus 8.5, favouring the Lions.
Yep, well, you can go first.
I'm going to go the Lions for that one, Pez.
Yeah, and this is where I've tossed up. I've got the Lions to win 1-39. I think the Bulldogs are a really good shot, but it is played up at the Gabba. And I just can't see myself going against the Lions. If I got an extra goal or something, 14.5, I'd love to get on the Bulldogs there, but you're going to keep your 2-point lead, Source, because I'm staying in Brisbane as well.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, that line, Pez, that 8.5. It's a really, really grey area. I thought it was probably going to sit about maybe the 9, 10.5, and that sort of might have enticed you a little bit more. But if you could have got it at 16, you'd be all over that, because it is going to be a close game. Hence, both of us sort of taking the 1-39 in that. So it'll be a cracking Saturday night.
Yep, and Saturday night. So only 2 games this weekend, and then 2 the weekend after, and then a grand final, and we're on to the NBL.
Yeah, I told you. October 16th, the 144-game season starts. Oh, that's actually just the first weekend, the 144 games.
Yeah, they play, I think, 17 games per day, each club. So it's a really good start to that NBL season. But a 2-point lead, you're pretty happy with that heading into semi-finals week there, and you can't be doing any better, really.
Pez, I'm really, really happy. I've got a 2-point lead with 5 games to go, and I'm sitting at an ROI of 16-point-something% with 5 games to go. Looking very healthy, looking very positive, and I've got no more to say, Pez.
That's it. That's all you can do. So make sure you jump on @BehindTheBound on Twitter. Get all the details for the finals coming up. Enjoy watching the footy and having a punt this weekend. If you want a live bet from Source, it will be there on Twitter @BehindTheBound. I'm Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Source. We'll catch up next time.